Everyone knows Saryn is the DPS queen of Warframe, but what if I told you that today's build not only decimates Grineer, but also Corpus and Infested all at the same time? Cause it does, and oh my god is it broken. Another very hot topic right now in the Warframe community is Nourish. You all know how I feel about this one, but that doesn't change its insane strength, and you may be asking why Nourish in particular is so good for Saryn, and I promise you that I will cover it all fully very soon, but I think it's important to discuss why Saryn herself is such a great weapons platform, and the definitive answer to that question is Toxic Lash. Lash is her third ability, with its description reading off as while active, attacks deal additional toxin damage, being doubled for melee weapons, and instantly bursting spores when attacking afflicted enemies. There's a lot here, so let's break this one down. The stated additional toxin damage starts at 30% of your weapon's total DPS, dealt as a completely separate hit from your weapon's main shot, similar to Zada's Whisper. These extra attacks scale off of your weapon's damage before health and armor resistances. Now what does that mean exactly? I wouldn't blame you for thinking that you can take the damage your weapon does, take 30% of it, and find what your average last tick would be, but unfortunately it isn't that easy. Because Lash's toxin damage is essentially another attack in and of itself, the actual damage your weapon does in game is completely irrelevant to Lash's. Instead, we must look to our mod screen to figure this one out. Take the damage shown here and you'll find that at the base 30%, the two align, with 30% of your in-game damage being the same as 30% of the mod screen's shown damage. Why is this so important for Lash? It has to do with the aforementioned helmet ability for today's build, Nourish, and more specifically the viral damage that it provides. Uniquely, toxin mods on your equipped weapons will apply their own specific toxin multiplier to the dot Lash provides, regardless of whether or not they are combined into other elements. This trait extends to outside buffs provided by abilities, namely Nourish right now. Now, not only do we get the benefit of having viral on our weapons without needing to mod for it, but we also just gain a free bonus to our toxin dots. We can apply this same principle to Spore's first ability augment, Venom Dose, which grants corrosive damage to our weapons on hold cast at a very high percentage. Again, because Toxin is a part of Corrosive's elemental makeup, it does buff our dot again here. I'm sure this sounds great and all, but for this to truly be relevant, we need a solid weapon to pair it with, and for that, I bring you the Torid Incarnon. Even if we ignore the Incarnon form's busted functions, which I will talk about in a moment, the Torid stands as a great weapon for Saryn regardless, due to its hybrid stats when built right. Utilizing the Survivor's Edge perk for a bonus 15% crit and status chance means that with the right setup we can hit over 100% crit and status at the same time, meaning that every shot will proc one of our 5 different status effects. What are these status effects? Well, let's look at our Torid build to find out. Serving as yet another buff to Toxic Lash's added dot is the Torid's Innate Toxin, because of course it has that. With one Heat 60/60 mod, we create Gas, which is paired with the Corrosive from the Augment, Viral from Nourish, and Toxin from Lash to give us 4 different statuses, and this 5th one is what truly solidifies this as the most versatile build in the game in my opinion. Our over 100% crit chance makes Hunter Munitions have a consistent 30% chance to proc Slash, meaning that now we have Corrosive and Viral Slash for Grineer, Toxin for Corpus, and Gas for Infested, all on one build. Oh, and let's not ignore that the Torid's beam has a 40 meter range with a 3 meter radius of damage on impact with any surface that subsequently chains up to 5 other enemies within 6 meters of one another. I hope that you still don't think I'm aimbotting whoever made that comment. I remember. I still laugh about it. Regardless, because we're pumping so much elemental damage in here with Nourish, Lash, and Venom Dose, providing 194%, 77%, and 259% respectively, we can actually afford to skip out on Primary Merciless in favor of Primary Blight, if you have it. I know many of us may not have this, myself included, but its additional 72% multi-shot and 144% crit damage would buff our Torid to a staggering 13.1x crit multiplier and 3 multi-shot. I don't even think I need to explain why that's so powerful. Base damage does come through Galvanized Aptitude, which is more useful than you might think. Every additional chain of the Torid's beam does 75% of the previous's damage, but obviously retains the high status chance, meaning you'll be passively priming enemies by just shooting them. How much will you actually notice this for a while on Steel Path? Not much, just because of everything else going on, but it's good to know, and does make it scale very well. Bane mods are particularly powerful here as they have some extra synergies with Toxic Lash. As I'm sure you know, Banes double dip on dots, namely Toxin, but they will buff our hunter munition slash ticks as well. In this case, Banes will first apply to our weapon, then multiply Toxic Lash's hit a second time, before multiplying the Toxin ticks a third time, otherwise referred to as triple dipping. And then in the Exilus, Vigilante supplies will occupy that slot, not for the additional ammo, rather the 5% chance to increase the crit tiers of our attacks, which does roll separately for each beam, giving us a very slim chance to hit red crits and a high chance of oranges. Our lack of fire rate mods on the weapon itself is solved by Arcane Acceleration, which introduces us to our Saryn setup. Though as there was with Torid, there's a lot to talk about here, so let's get into it. First off, I've talked about Venom Dose, so no need for that. Though now I want to bring your attention to the Aura slot for yet another manner of buffing our damage. If you thought that we were done with Nourish, you'd be sorely mistaken. Taking damage from any source will trigger a wave of viral energy to explode from your location, staggering all enemies it hits and priming them with a single stack of viral per explosion. At just one stack, this is a 100% increase in our damage that can get as high as 325% more, as if we ever needed that. You can self-proc this aura, negating the need to take damage from enemies with combat discipline. On kill, discipline will deal 10 damage to your health and trigger the viral wave. Killing too quickly with the aura equipped though can cause you to kill yourself, and we definitely don't want to do that. So to solve it, we use another one of Saryn's augments, Regenerative Molt. Regenerative Molt was made for this setup. Casting Molt will now give you a scaling health per second buff for 10 seconds. This very effectively nullifies the health drain from discipline, and you'll find yourself casting Molt quite a bit naturally, as it also serves as our main form of survivability here through shield gating. Molt lends itself quite well towards doing so, as it has no casting time, meaning you press R2 and you immediately gain both its buffs and these shields necessary to gate. Actually doing so though does require us to drop our efficiency to 45% through Blind Rage, though this actually isn't an issue as Nourish comes back to save the day again. Nourish provides a scaling energy multiplier to all sources of energy, meaning that on a very spammy build like this, with Energize and Xeneric, you will be just fine. Now, with Molt costing 77.5 energy per cast, 3 Augur mods, 1 on Saryn and 2 on a pistol of your choice, give us that 1 cast shield gate. Speaking of Augurs, Reach and Stretch combine to give us a solid 175 range that is mainly used to benefit our Nourish wave, bringing it to 21 meters, though the increase in spread range for Spores to 28 meters is very appreciated. To achieve the necessary strength values for what I just listed, you just need to add Archon Intensify onto the build, bringing us to a sweet 259% when healing is triggered through an ability, performed through Regenerative Molt of course. Prime Continuity raises our duration values all far above 30 seconds, while also increasing the duration of Molt's secondary use here, that being a speed multiplier and a slight amount of crowd control, though our main source of crowd control on this build comes from killing everything before they even have a chance to shoot at us. Because Molt cleanses status effects on cast, it is debatable whether or not to include Rolling Guard, and for the time being I do recommend it, though with the changes coming to shield gating, video on that soon, you'll want to use the new Catalyzing Shields mod in this place, and nothing else will change for this build. Oh, and do make sure to have either Prime Sure-Footed or Handspring in your Exilus for those random annoying knockdowns we definitely don't want to die to. Focus goal wise, as I said before, Xeneric is needed here for energy management, don't skip this one. While for your secondary, I just use Epitaph, though I never really shoot it, and Kratos' parkour evolutions make movement feel great here. If you want to throw on your own mini Saryn to further spread viral, use this build here, but besides that, I think I've covered all that I need to. Besides the sponsor for today's video, Surfshark. You all know what a VPN is, I won't act like you don't. What you may not know though is which one to use, which is the best, and which is the cheapest, etc, etc. If only there was one service that could do it all, and there is. Surfshark. Surfshark does way more than you think it does for the very low price of $2.39 a month, which can be shared between all of your devices under one subscription. Protect you on the internet from those with malicious intent? Yup. Access to the entire internet with no restrictions, obviously, and just a hell of a lot more. You don't know how nice it is until you don't have it, so don't miss out on this opportunity for 3 months free by using code KYAIYT, all caps, during checkout, not only helping yourself, but me as well. A massive thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Let me know in the comments what y'all thought of this one, because holy hell, I was gonna do a Necros video, but I was recording for my top 10, I played around with this, and yeah, look at what you just watched. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Your support really does mean so much to me, and if you found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. I'm doing my best to make the best content I can for you guys. We're gonna have a fantastic October. For those on Patreon and YouTube, your support is also very invaluable. Thank you to Scotty Knows, Sage, Intellectual, SOS, 3000, Wally, Lyric, and of course everyone else on screen. Your help goes a long way in making sure I can keep doing what I do. Thank you. If you're not a member yet, consider checking out my Patreon and YouTube memberships, as it goes a long way in ensuring I can continue to do all of this. But as always, I hope this video was informative and helpful, and I will see all of you guys in the next one. Peace.